Texas Governor Greg Abbott is following through on one of his threats, which was to cut funding to the Texas legislature and their staff. This was in retaliation to Democrats walking out to break quorum on his controversial voting bill. Here to talk about this is Travis County GOP Executive Director Brian Ruddle and Glen Smith from Progress, Texas. Now, this weekend, the governor again vetoed the budget item that funds the Texas legislature and their staff. Glen Smith, does this do good or bad? What comes out of this?
Well, first, let's recognize what it is. Under the Constitution is the executive branch, one of the three branches of government, deciding to defund or erase another branch of government, in this case, the legislature. Next time it could be the judiciary if Governor Abbott's successful in this. I just imagine with me, what would be going on around the nation right now if President Biden decided he'd had it with Congress and vetoed Congress's budget so he could do whatever he wanted. That's what Abbott has done here in Texas. It's clearly unconstitutional, and it might even be criminal bribery, since he's offered to pay legislators if they'll do what he wants. He really should pull back on this because it's offensive to lovers of democracy everywhere.
Brian Ruddle, who really gets hurt by this?
You know, one thing to say about this is, I've never gotten paid for a job where I simply walk out on. Obviously, this was a threat that Governor Abbott put into place because, these legislators are elected to come and, share their views, vote on legislation. By simply refusing to even vote, by walking out, they abandoned their responsibilities. Just because they don't like the piece of legislation doesn't mean that they should run away from their responsibilities. So this really hurts the constituents of those Democrats who simply said, I don't like what's going on, so I'm not going to show up. They took their ball and went home, which is, I think, bad for our Texas Republic.
Glenn, do you think this is actually going to happen, legislators not being paid?
Well, we're going to see what happens. He hadn't called the special session yet, but first I want to say with respect to Brian that quorum breaks have been going on since there were quorums in legislative bodies in the 17th century. I found an interesting one in 1901 where members of the legislature bolted because they didn't want a bill to pass, and they went to a comic opera in 1901. There was a subsequent investigation by the legislature who found they had comported themselves as gentlemen and distinguished representatives in breaking that quorum. This is nothing new. It's a traditional use in settings where it's the only remedy. So, I mean, this stuff from Abbott about they walked off on the job, actually, I'm a Democrat, I'm a constituent. They were protecting my interests by doing what they did. They weren't abandoning them, they were working on my behalf.
Brian, we do have at least one special session that's probably going to happen. Is this anything really going to happen with this?
With a special session coming up, there's going to be a lot on the special session agenda. I know that Governor Abbott is still releasing some of those points. We will have a special session. I do think at the end of the day, legislative staff will be paid. When they show up for work, they get a paycheck. So if they're willing to show up, if they're willing to do the work, I absolutely do think that they will be funded.
Glen Smith, final word on this.
Well, let's think about the threat. Whatever might happen, whether this money is reappropriated in special session or not, a governor has decided that his power transcends the other branches of government, that if he wants to threaten their pay until they do what he wants, that's a legitimate use of power. But it is not under the separation of powers clauses of the Texas Constitution or the U.S. Constitution. He should back up and end this threat.
Okay, well, so far the governor has not blinked. We are out of time. Glenn, Brian, as always, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.